the dorm step show.
So you mean to tell me this Davie that we have right now wasn't freshman year at Tuskegee Davie?
No.
Wow.
I was a timid guy.
Really?
They would make fun of me because in South Carolina the style was headbands.
Yeah.
I would wear a headband with all of my outfits.
You gotta show them your swag, you know?
Right. It's like, who is that kid from South Carolina that's always wearing a headband? We're here.
We out here. All right, so welcome to the HBCU podcast. Before we get started, I always ask every guest to say their name, the year they graduated, and their HBCU. So, for example, I'm Natasha. I'm a 2006 graduate of Claflin University. Okay. And say that as clearly as possible because we use it at the beginning of the podcast.
Yes, absolutely. Well, my name is Davie Rickenbacker. I am a double degree holder from Tuskegee University. I received my bachelor's in 2010 and my MPH in 2016.
Nice. All right. Well, Davie, because I make sure I call you Davie. That's your government name.
Please
okay.
Do. Please do.
Welcome. Guess what?
What?
I think I already told you this, but you're the first Tuskegee
yes,
grad.
Sir. TU.
Yeah, that's right. The first Tuskegee grad that we had on here. And you know what? Davie reached out before and told me, hey, yo, I really want to be on the podcast. And I was like, cool. And some people from Tuskegee hit me up, but I was like, nope. Nope, because I have somebody already.
Saving it, right?
Exactly. I have somebody who wants to be on here. I want them to be the first person to be on the HBCU podcast from Tuskegee.
Thank you so much for having me, Natasha. You know, we go way back, so.
We do. So let's hop into the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
You or me?
So, I mean, basically when we met, it was at an HBCU.
Yes.
So, look at that.
Yep.
For irony.
Yep.
And it was at Payne College. And I don't remember the year. What, like 2011, 10?
It had to be 2011 because it was my first job out of school, and I finished in 2010, so I want to say 2011.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were working over at, like, the Fort Gordon.
I was in Fort Gordon. I don't know if you want to get into that now or later, but, yeah, that was a bit of a headache. I really wanted to be over there with you guys,
You
man.
should have been. We were like, oh, my gosh, you need to be here. Was Leah working there when you came?
Leah was not working as soon as I came.
Uh-huh.
She came maybe a few months later.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, we worked at Payne College for everybody who's wondering, because I have so many, like, connections who come onto the podcast and, like, how'd you meet? Payne College. But, yeah, Davie came in and was working with the Fort Gordon campus, which is the military base that's near there, and we never saw him.
I know, man. Here, maybe once or twice when I would come for a headshot.
Right.
Or my boss would send me down there because we were having some technical difficulties.
Yep.
But I never really, but I did go out with you guys after hours once or twice.
We did. We had fun after hours.
Right.
We won't talk about all that. Plead the fifth. So, welcome to the HBCU podcast.
Thank you.
Tuskegee alumnus,
Yes.
a.k.a. Davy Crockett,
Yes.
a.k.a. Explorer, a.k.a. father of Rufio. How's Rufio?
Rufio is doing good. I'm actually puppy sitting this weekend.
Okay.
One of my fraternity brothers, they're going on their 10 years somewhere in Dominican Republic, and he has a pit bull puppy, and Rufio is so annoyed with the puppy. He just doesn't do puppies, but he's doing pretty good. That's my partner in crime. Everywhere I go, he's there.
He is. Y'all, if you don't know, Davie has, like, I think, a really good social media presence, which is why I know about Rufio. And I honestly, like, everybody's, like, Instagram stories, people think that people tap through. I'm, like, the one person who, like,
that watches
people's Instagram stories. And so every time you and Rufio were doing anything, I was like, I am entertained.
Well, I got to plug Rufio's Instagram. It's Bangarang Wolves.
Okay. I don't know if I follow him, but it's happening after this. He's a star, y'all, so hit him up.
Right.
Hit him up. Okay, so as you know, this is the HBCU podcast, and y'all, I love that Davie is just already repping. He came in with the Tuskegee gear on. He's one of the few people that I see all the time, like, just repping in general. So I love that. But of course, here we talk about HBCUs, and of course about our guests too. Yeah. But yeah, we'll start off just talking about you and where you're from. Tell everybody where you're from and how you got to Tuskegee.
Okay. So I had a way of doing this. I actually purchased this shirt here.
Okay.
recently from another Tuskegee graduate who has a business.
Okay.
HBCU Unity Tees.
Okay.
And I wanted these 5 HBCUs specifically because these are the ones that molded me. And for people who can't see, I have here Tuskegee, SC State, Claflin, FAMU, and Payne.
Yes.
So you asked me where I was from. I am from Orangeburg, South Carolina, the city of 2 of these great HBCUs.
That's right.
SC State and Claflin. And I'm from a family of the Rickenbackers in Orangeburg. My parents have 3 boys. Oldest son went to FAMU.
Nice.
Youngest son went to SC State.
Okay.
And both my parents are South Carolina State grads. Not only that, but my mother is a past campus queen for South Carolina State.
Okay.
And then my little brother was a campus king waiting on down the line. But yeah, I just wanted to I wanted to speak about each of these HBCUs and how they've molded me.
Yeah.
Just being from Orangeburg and seeing campus always in your face. My parents are always active on campus, so they're taking me on there. We're exercising on campus late hours.
Yeah.
It's just, I've always been a part of South Carolina State University and Claflin University, and then some would say, well, why didn't you go to one of those schools?
You know that was going to be my question.
And my answer for that is, man, it was never a thought in my mind of where I wanted to, what type of school I wanted to go to. Mm-hmm. I knew it was going to be an HBCU because that's the way that my parents raised me. Not to say that there's anything wrong with going to any other school.
Absolutely.
But, the nature nurture. It's what I was raised on. They went there. I heard all of their stories. They met there. They fell in love there.
Yes, love story.
So, yeah, exactly. So, where was I going with that? So, I mean, just to say that.
Why you didn't go to Claflin is where
that's what it was. That's
the
what it was.
best HBCU on the planet.
Exactly. And so, this is what is, not exactly, but. This is what I was going to plug on Claflin. So my grandmother, she's a graduate of Claflin University, and back when she's now deceased, but back when she's alive, she would always tell me stories of how Claflin was about $30 back then.
Ooh, that's when I needed it, Jesus.
Right. So no student loan debt. And then my grandfather's parents were both graduates of South Carolina State as well. So nice. I'm deeply rooted in South Carolina State and Claflin. But, I wanted to see the rest of the world. I wanted to, Orangeburg, you've lived there for a while. It's not the most exciting town in the world.
It's not, but
outside of the colleges.
Right.
But when those colleges are gone, I don't want to call it boring, but you got to find some things to do.
It's a little bit of a ghost town.
Mm-hmm,
I mean, I've been around for a summer and was like, okay.
Right. But let me not down too much on Orangeburg because my parents are going to listen to
people love Orangeburg.
Right.
It just has, it has a little spark when the students are in, like any college town.
Exactly. It brings it to life.
Like any college town. So that's dope.
Yeah. So
South Carolina State, Claflin, FAMU, and Payne, of course, because you.
Yes. So Payne was my very first. My very first job with my college degree.
Nice.
Coming out of Tuskegee, I was a part of the recession where I had trouble finding a position. And that summer, I actually interned at another HBCU, Savannah State University.
Okay.
Which was good, but it didn't lead to a job.
Okay.
So my father was pretty close with the president of Payne, and he was able to, network and help me get a position out there. And it was just a blessing for me. Now, the experience was a little rocky, and I don't discredit Payne for that. I kind of discredit the boss I had at the time. I don't know if you remember him. We won't call any names. But but the program that I was working with, it kind of fell through. And we were no longer needed out there. So pain taught me a lot of things. It taught me, about struggle. It taught me, about the professional career. It taught me about the ups and downs of the professional career.
Right.
We won't get into details on this, but I met my first love at Payne. Okay. Now, she wasn't a student or anything like that. Right. But in Augusta, so I was very deeply rooted in Payne College. It taught me a great deal. Nice. Not as much as I learned at Tuskegee, but we'll get into that. We'll get
into that. Right. So what I really love is that you're just sharing all of these things about HBCUs and the ones that are on your shirt that I probably wouldn't have known in general. But I love that your brothers went to HBCUs, your family deeply rooted in HBCUs. Yes. So what is it that they told you that even though you didn't attend their HBCUs that said, hey, I'm going to go see what everything's about here in Tuskegee? What was it that as you were growing up you heard them say and really, affirm about HBCUs?
I'd have to say it was just the stories. I don't think that they pinpointed, you've got to go to an HBCU, you've got to go to an HBCU. But just hearing the story about my parents meeting there and falling in love, my mother running for a campus queen, my father being a popular kid at SC State, I think it was just deeply rooted in those stories that they told me, and there just was no other decision for me to make other than being at a historically black college or university. Of course, on the career side, I researched a few things about HBCUs and then their specialties at some of the schools, which before I left for Tuskegee, I was very passionate about animals. Okay. And, Tuskegee University has a very strong veterinary program. If I could just plug for a second.
You could do whatever you want to plug your HBCU. This is the place to do it, okay?
Great.
I love it.
Great, because we have the number one historically black college and university for graduating black veterinarians and having them employed. So that's Tuskegee. Now, I did not know that going to Tuskegee, I had to major in animal science first to get to that veterinary program. I thought it was you get an animal science and one and done. You're going to be in the vet school. So there was some struggle there, but, I made it through.
So let's talk about your career because of course, as you mentioned when we began the podcast, that you double degree at Tuskegee. So you currently work.
So I work for the Center for Disease Control here in Atlanta. I am a health communications specialist. My division is called Community Guide, and basically what we do is we coincide with liaisons in the community on different public health topics. I think writing a report on homelessness around America right now and how we touch base with other organizations that help to combat homelessness. Okay. So that's just an idea of the things that we do. I run a lot of social media campaigns, which you gave me the plug on how great my social media. It comes because I've taken a lot of courses in social media.
He knows what he's doing.
Right.
He knows what he's doing.
Exactly. I edit some reports, write some stories here and there, and I also telework, so I have a little leeway on what I can and cannot do.
Nice.
And it's a great position. I really like it. We'll get into because I actually quit the job to go to Survivor, but we'll get into that when we start talking about Survivor.
Okay. So, what was it that even though you went to Tuskegee, you were thinking, hey, I want to be a veterinarian, and you learned more about, I guess, these other degrees or other field of study? What led you to that particular degree and then where you are now?
So I started.
How'd you choose it? Because that's the,
Absolutely.
I've told my story before, but I majored in mass comm at Claflin, and I chose mass comm because it was the one with only one math. Oh. So,
smart. I never researched the classes.
I kept it simple.
Had I done that?
I looked down the row. I was like, just one math, huh?
Right.
I think that's for me.
Well, so I I knew I wanted. We had a lot of pets growing up in Orangeburg, dogs, cats, birds. I think we caught a rabbit one time and tried to domesticate it, and our parents weren't having it. So I was kind of passionate about animals, and going into Tuskegee, I majored in animal science, and then I got introduced to environmental sciences. And which is what my younger brother just got his doctorate degree in.
Oh, nice! Congratulations.
Yep. And environmental sciences encompasses so much. So after graduating and not being able to get a job right away, I was kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place. I was trying to figure out my life, as we do after we graduate and go through that,
Ain't that the truth?
Right. And I'm thinking, are you sure you don't want to go to vet school? Do you want to go to vet school? Don't you want to go to vet school? And I was like, if I want, I should probably work as a veterinary technician for a while to see if this is for me. Excuse me.
Get a feel.
Yeah. And so I moved to Atlanta, stayed on some couches at my Lion Brothers houses until I could get on my feet.
Hey.
And and I worked as a veterinary technician for a while. And I kept those contacts that I had with Tuskegee. And lo and behold, there was a new program to open up at Tuskegee called the Master of Public Health Program.
Okay.
And it was fully funded at that time.
Blessings.
So, me having my bachelor's degree in environmental sciences and just thinking, that kind of coincides with public health. If it's going to be free, maybe I should give it a go.
Right.
What's the worst that can happen?
Can't lose.
Right. So then I started my program, and they started taking the money away. But I became so passionate about public health that I'm thinking, oh, man, this is something that I can do. I can help generations of people with public health, and this is where I want to be. And then I was lucky enough to get the job at the premier place that you want to work in public health. And I've got to accredit the grace of God for that, because at that time, our program was not accredited.
Okay.
And I've got all of these people telling me, you don't want to go to that school. I mean, that school. Right. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's my home. That's my second home. Because they're not accredited. And I'm like, no, don't worry. I've got faith. My faith in God is going to get me through. And just look what he did. He got me that job at the Center for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta, Georgia.
Big deal.
Right. Very big deal. Yes.
Nice. So, you've done, I guess you've kind of given us your career story, your first job, and then where you are now, and all that good stuff. Yes. And what people, one of the questions I think people will want to know, because you were at Tuskegee for both of your degrees, and what exactly do you think it was that you learned there that, just kind of kept you pushing? You've had a few little hardships that you share with us throughout the story. So what kind of skills or anything that you learned there that really help you press on or put you in a place where you are for this right now?
Absolutely. Going to an HBCU, I believe it's called the Morrill Act of 1890, where they gave land to people to start schools, and Tuskegee was started. I was talking all of that stuff about Orangeburg being boring. Tuskegee was started in Tuskegee, Alabama, which is a very small town that doesn't have much, and I accredit my upbringing and my molding and shaping and polishing to the fact that it was in that small town. So we were forced to interact with each other.
Right.
We couldn't go to the movies. We couldn't go to Sonic. All we had was a McDonald's and a KFC in this place called The Coop. And when Michelle Obama came down, she did her research. She was like, I want to get me some Coop.
Went straight there.
Right.
You're from the small town, but you decided to explore the world and go to a small town.
Now, it was about 15 minutes from Auburn University, so we would take some trips here and there, and Montgomery was down the road, too.
Yeah.
But for the most part, and especially as freshmen, where you're not allowed a car, you got to find a way to make your own fun. And not only my own fun, but, being that I was there, I had to learn things. I had to learn how to be an adult without my parents.
Right.
I had to wait in those long registration lines.
Yeah.
I had to learn those life hacks with how to cut the line with the people that I know, you know?
Yeah.
I've got one of my friends here with me now who's taking some pictures that I met. And
shout out
to Todd Hoskins. he's taking some photographs with us right now. You'll see them later. And it's just those kind of connections that I made as a freshman that have lasted me to now. Mm-hmm. And now we're able to help each other with our I won't say our careers because we both have other jobs, but with our little side hustles, that we got. So I just think that, Tuskegee, you had to learn how to navigate without a vehicle. You had to make something out of nothing. And I'm pretty sure that's, a story for most HBCUs.
A lot of them.
Right. And especially the candidates that go from out of state because they don't know anyone.
Right.
And I got in there as a freshman. I had a roommate from New York. His name's Drew Sanders.
Drew was probably
right
shell-shocked.
Right, exactly. But Drew is really how I met everybody because he was so outgoing. Mm-hmm. We joined the dorm step team and we won the dorm step show.
So you mean to tell me this Davie that we have right now wasn't freshman year at Tuskegee Davie?
No. Wow. I was a timid guy.
Really?
They would make fun of me because in South Carolina the style was headbands.
Yeah.
I would wear a headband with all of my outfits.
You gotta show them your swag.
Right. It's like, who is that kid from South Carolina that's always wearing the headbands? So I got in with a tight group with my young hall step team, and we thought we ran the yard. I'm like, well, this is new to me. I mean, in high school, I wasn't like a loser or anything, but I wasn't as outgoing as I am now. Uh-huh. And being a part of an organization like that step team to where, we're just meeting everyone and everyone's loving us and I'm able to make those connections, I think that's the blueprint that's, just got me going and to become the person that I am today. Yeah.
I love that. Everybody, I feel like, you're obligated to do that. Like, if you go to an HBCU, like I was on the step team too for my dorm.
That's a rites of passage.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do it. Like, because you see the Greeks and you're like, well, this is close.
Right.
Let me go ahead and start practicing
the baby Greeks, right? And they watch it.
They look in.
Right.
We know what's up.
Right.
Well, cool.
Well, then speaking of Greek life, should we shift into that?
Go ahead. Because I feel like you are a member of a fraternity.
Yes.
If I am not mistaken.
I am a member of the greatest fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Yes, the Gamma Epsilon chapter of Tuskegee University. And in high school, I was a member of Kappa League, so I always knew I was going to be a Kappa.
See?
And it was going to them step shows at South Carolina State in Claflin and seeing them shimmy, and I'm like, oh, look how they getting all these girls, they're screaming. What is this? This is outer body.
Oh, that's the reason?
Not at all. Achievement, leadership, all of that. But that was the
Service.
But that was the thing that caught my eye, and I'm like, okay, I want to be a Kappa. So little did I know, about half of young hall step team wanted to be
Everybody wanted to be down.
Right.
You didn't know you was already practicing with your live.
Right.
Right,
Exactly. But hey, God knew. He knew he was putting me in the right situation.
Groomed, so
Exactly. So we were actually off the yard when I was a freshman.
Okay.
And then we came back in 2009, and I had made the connections that I needed to make to where I was able to go through intake in 2008, and I became a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. My line was about 15, and those have just become my best friends.
Yeah.
We still talk to each other to this day, which is how fraternities and sororities are.
They are. I called one of my sorority sisters when I was like, I'm in town. You want to do drinks?
Right, exactly. My line brothers are going to be going with me to Fiji for our 11-year trip soon.
Oh, nice.
So we and just being a Kappa is what I said. Tuskegee is what made me, but being a Kappa is what polished me.
Okay. So when did you said 2008? So was that your?
I was a junior.
Your junior year.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So